You guys have definitely been enjoying these reviews we've done of our different athletes, whether it's because you're currently on the training and you like to see, how your training stacks up in comparison, or maybe you're just, I don't know, interested in what our opinions are on it. But these are good because there are athletes, so we can give good feedback to them. We can be honest with them and transparent. And it ends up being really good content too, and you guys enjoy it. So we're going to do another one. This athlete is Jamal, I believe, and his stats are 60 kilograms, which is pretty light. These are all metric numbers. He is 5'7" or 171 centimeters, so he's very relatively short for a dunker, and his reach is 7'1", which is also very low. He's 20 years old, and his max vert is 37 inches. Lifts 110 squat. So times body weight, he's just below 2 times body weight. We'll see how it looks.
It's pretty good for being 20 years old.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, for a shorter guy, I'd want to see definitely a lot stronger, but we'll see what the depth is like. And then his power clean is 70 kilos, which definitely that's not too bad. I mean, 70 divided by that's 1.16. I think yours is like 1.6 or something, but you're like the outlier of outliers. And disclaimer: all clips recorded in a 2-day span, mid-training cycle and post-workout. I don't know
why. We're going to be seeing some fatigue.
But let's check it out. All right. Jam. That's his.
I'll decrease the volume a little bit here.
All right. Son. How's that? Slow-mo for John. All right, wait. Let me see real quick. Slow-mo for... Wait, I can't actually read what it said. Oh, very bouncy approach. I won't do this for each clip, just for the best ones. Okay, cool. All right, we got a slow-mo pass. Okay, this is probably the bounciest approach. He is jumping into the takeoff. I've seen a couple guys do this. We have another guy named John on the training. I think we talked about him the other day. He was in the group call. We were mentioning him, but he also has this kind of like bouncy approach. But when you look at what's that?
The depth jump.
Yeah, he like pogos into it, right? So he gets a lot of flight time, and then pretty much does a depth jump into it. The footwork is like perfect, and he's super elastic. I mean, that's a really impressive jump for his height and his reach. Like that's pretty crazy. Yeah. So it's
I'm
tough.
Curious if all his approaches, if that is his approach, he's got way more in the tank. Oh, there we go. He's running now.
Those a little different. Best in terms of form. Yeah. Okay. So he knows he bounces up in the air. Yeah.
He's breaking a lot
on this penultimate step. You can tell because you can tell by the way it is. No, he plants so far out in front. Anytime you guys are watching a technique video and you see the foot, the shin angle get really, really like vertical or even acute. Vertical is okay. Would you call this acute or obtuse?
I would say acute. Like the more acute it gets, the angle between the ground and his shin closes.
Yes. Yeah. This is acute. Then it's going to be bad. The direction of the shin is going to tell you, or as Dan Paff calls it, the shank is going to tell you the direction that you're pushing or you can push.
By the way, guys, if you want me and John to analyze your technique, just how we're doing it like this, live, go to thbstrength.com and sign up. Link in the description.
I'm so proud of you.
I set an alarm. We always forget.
Yeah, we do.
We always forget to tell you.
Yeah, not today. All right, so the direction of the shin is always going to tell you the direction of the force, and at least a touchdown, this is way too much braking force. So from touchdown until like mid support, he's just braking. Now he's reaccelerating off of it, so he kind of repositions himself. But you basically could have just taken all these steps out. Which steps
literally probably why you're jumping higher with the slow bouncy takeoff, because you're just as fast. Like you brake so much here that your speed at support leg of the penultimate just ends up being the same as your slow approach.
I can't really tell from the angle, but your block foot's probably later here as well. I would assume that based on how you're jumping with all of that vertical, it's not even that far off, but based on how because essentially what you're doing when you're jumping into the takeoff is you're trying to load the stretch shortening cycle. The problem is that when you jump into the takeoff, whether 1 or 2 foot, is you have to manage a negative vertical velocity. So it has this kind of back and forth pros and cons, situation where, you get more loading because you're able to load the stretch shortening cycle. You're able to load the muscles at length and you're able to load the connective tissue, you also have to overcome like a massive negative vertical velocity. I mean, you're essentially falling from like 10 inches. Ideally, what we want to see is guys load the stretch shortening cycle by using horizontal momentum. We don't want to like to see it be vertical. And so the two biggest things that determine how high you'll jump or potential to load your muscles is how low you are, because that'll allow you to increase impulse, and then the horizontal speed, because that's going to load the stretch shortening cycle. That's going to load the musculotendinous unit. It's going to let you produce more force through neural reflexes like the stretch reflex, the myotatic spindles, and the Golgi tendon organ. You get different inhibitions that will benefit you, basically down regulating the antagonists, which is like the muscles that don't involve, they're not prime movers. And so like your hamstring at the knee or something like that. And if you're doing all this negative, if you have to handle all that negative energy, that's energy that you can't use to push upwards, even though it is preloading the muscle. So there's pros and cons to it. And that's why a lot of the time we'll tell guys, like, I would recommend changing your form first, really stick to it and see what happens. And then if it's not working after like 2 to 3 months, then go back to kind of what's innate. Because I mean, and you have to be honest with yourself about whether you feel like you're trending in the right direction. I think that's also really important. Isaiah, do you have any thoughts about that?
I it reminds me of Jaden Suarez. He
Mm-hmm.
stuck with having good technique, jumped lower for a little bit. After 3-4 months, he was jumping higher with that technique. Especially, I mean, I don't know what your training age is like, but you're at a point where it's not too late. Like, you're 20 years old, probably haven't been training for too long. Like, this is the time when you're more malleable and can afford to jump lower. Like, it sucks to change your technique when you're already dunking and your verticals in the mid 40s, which you easily have the potential to have a 45 plus inch vertical one day, I think. It would be way harder to change your technique when you're at 43, 44 versus now when you're at 37. Get good technique, jump 34 for a couple months. Now you're back at 36, and now you have the potential for that 45-inch vert when you're, 23, 24 years old.
He makes good points. All right, we're going on. Moving on. Slow-mo, very slow. All right, so I don't see if there's a lot of slow-mo footage there. We're gonna cut that out. Okay. So you're definitely lower in these ones, but you're see this one, you just want to keep pushing up. Like, same thing right here. I mean, you're low coming in right here, but again, you're braking a lot. So and then you lower, you can watch your head go down only to immediately push upwards. Look at your head, look at your arms, look at your shoulders. Everything's just moving upwards. Ideally, you're not doing that, right? You can see a little parabola, projectile motion. If you see projectile motion in a penultimate step, you did it wrong. Projectile motion is when it has a parabola. You don't want to see that.
You need to watch the video on my
That's a
YouTube.
better jump, but it's because I think you pushed upwards.
You
Go
need to
ahead, Isaiah.
watch the video on my YouTube where John was teaching me.
Oof.
He was trying to fix my right left technique, and he basically gave me an area. There's an area on the court where you should start your penultimate, and you can take however many steps you want leading up to it, but then jump from that spot, take a big penultimate, and jump from right under the hoop. Right now, that penultimate's way too close to the hoop.
Is the volume low enough, Isaiah? Or you need me to turn it down
I'll
a
go a
little
little
bit?
lower. Yeah, just a
All right,
little lower.
right there. So kind of the same issue every time. The biggest thing I'm seeing, the biggest problem is how you're planning your penultimate step. It is just like a stab. It's like a javelin.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not good, right? You're not going to see Isaiah do that. You're not going to see Kilgannon do that. You're not going to see really any crazy elite jumper is not going to do that off 2 feet. Anthony Height doesn't do that. They all roll through a very low position, and that's where you're messing up. Your footwork's great, but this is the stride you got to focus on right here. I mean, this is an elastic push off. This is something I would expect from like a speed jumper in high jump. So, I mean, you jump well doing that because you're so elastic and, you're able to take advantage of it. But I really think if you fix that, it's going to give you a lot more potential. You're doing a good job of controlling the energy and using it to your advantage. Most people would just get buried by doing that. You're like Isaiah said, you're basically doing a depth jump. So we've seen kind of the same stuff. Looks like the back's hurting a little bit here. What's going on? A little walking around. Is he going to go? Any second now? We got to have a talk here. Yeah, same thing. Breaking.
For future reference, if anybody's gonna send us videos, trim the videos to just the jump.
Same thing, man. Same thing. Every time I'm seeing that, you're breaking so hard. The penultimate step is an acceleration step. It is the most important step. It should be the most aggressive push. It's like Isaiah said, I view it like a lily pad. When you hit the lily pad, it is a mega boost. It is like the arrows in Mario Kart. When you hit them, you just go flying. It is the Sonic Hedgehog bouncy thing. That is the super acceleration pad. When you touch the pad, boom, you should explode off of it into the plant of your takeoff. It frustrates the hell out of me when guys struggle with this. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like you might as well just, you're basically hitting a reverse arrow.
Yeah,
That's not what we want. Even when you're running faster, you can tell it's all breaking. So these are all kind of the same. Let's see some lifts. Okay, let's go. There's not really much different there. It's kind of the same thing. All right, sprints. This is what I like to see. All right, so pretty zoomed in. That's actually not bad at all. Yeah, this is clean. Oh,
you can tell he's really elastic. He's got some stiff
even just the way he
tendons.
sprints, man. Like the acceleration here. So this is really vertical, but you're in really good position. So how you can tell, I said this to a lot of guys. I worked with a lot of track and field athletes. When you see the shin angle parallel to the body, and obviously you have to correct for like the angle we're watching it at, that's how you know you're in the right position. So he's perfect there, perfect there. This is still good. That's acceptable. Some guys will, he's not rounding at the back. He's leaning at the hip. So these are really good. This is amazing, right? Look at the projection here. Boom, exploding, just bouncing. Then here he starts to, get the feet down a little bit. Some elite coaches would say, "Oh, he's got too much backside mechanics here. Pelvis is out of position." I actually don't think this is bad. I think this is really good. Maybe a little bit squatty. Let me see here at upright. So when I say squatty, I mean it looks like you're in a quarter squat. When you watch elite sprinters, they really don't hit that kind of during acceleration. They will, but upright, which are definitely upright here, they're so stiff. Their leg looks like a stilt. All right, that's pretty good though, dude. That's pretty good. I might maintain slightly more forward lean. Very, very slightly forward lean. Let's see what this one looks like.
A nice track.
Okay, you're chopping here though. Looks like you're just getting the feet down a little too quick. I would say push longer. All right, so then let's see. Yeah, you're just chopping here. I would push back harder. Those ones are floating. It looks like your rhythm's a little too fast. You're just not displacing. You're not hitting the ground. I would want to see you be more aggressive through the ground. But that was good. Yeah, that was good. All right, now we're going to look at some cleans. Okay, so initially you need to get the shoulders forward. It looks like you're lifting off safety, so this is a little bit off the ground, but I can tell your weight's just really far back. And I can tell because the angle of your arm is almost like pointing backwards. It's pointing this way, right? If I were to draw an arrow, like a vector vertically, the vertical vector would be here, whereas your arm is slightly back. I don't like to see that. I want to see the shoulders in front of the bar such that your arms are actually going this direction. And so that means the bar is going to move out in front of you. You're going to have to navigate the knee, which you do, right? So you can see the bars moving around the knee. You want to move the bar. You want to move your body around the bar, not the bar around your body. So you're actively moving the bar around your body right here, and that's not good. We don't want to see that. Right here, I'm gonna have to watch this in full speed here. Yeah, second pull, you're pausing. So you're pushing the knees back maybe too far, and then your transition is like almost too active. It's like you're pausing, waiting to make sure that the bar is like in the right spot, and then you're jumping. I would say that you need don't view it like red light, green light, view it like yellow light, green light, right? So imagine if it was yellow light, you're going really, really slow, or like a fly or something like that. If you've ever done a 10-meter fly, it's like you're sub maximal and then you hit the cone, you go all out, similar to a clean, right? So a clean is like yellow light is from the floor to basically here. Now it's green light. Look, your knees aren't moving forward here. So like I said, it should be green light. Instead, you're still pushing the knees back. Your knees aren't coming forward. You're not getting a double knee bend. Now you're starting to get a double knee bend, but it's really slow. Now it's starting to kind of more so happen, but it's way too late. So it kind of looks like you're pausing. Still not bad. Rack position, I would say you need to get the elbows up. I always want to see the upper arm parallel to the ground. It looks like the bar is on the right spot though, so that's good. Yeah, same thing. So you're so this one you got the shoulders. You got to arch the back more here, but kind of tugged it off the ground. I've seen that problem a lot. You guys want to keep tension in your back, in your arms before you start the lift. Make sure that you feel wound up like a coil that's been, tightened down. You don't want to be loose and then tug the weight because you'll see it in the back here, right? You'll see the back kind of stiff. Right position here. As soon as you go to tug, boom, you're round. Boom, you're round. Boom, you're round. We don't want to do that. So you get pulled forward because you tugged it off the ground. And then again, you're pausing quite a bit and then getting into that second pull. This one, you're actually like thrusting your hips instead of jumping. So the cue I would use is jump, and then the bar's floating out in front of you. One cue Isaiah likes is knuckles down. You could try that as well. I like the cue brush the chest. You can see it loops back towards your throat because you let it go out so far in front of you. So what comes up must come down. Similar, what goes out in front of you, it must come back. So it's going to slingshot back towards your throat, which it does, kind of throws you back. Zay, you see anything here?
There was one cue
Low
I
elbows
was
here
gonna
too.
give.
We gotta work on that.
I don't remember the cue I was gonna give.
Ooh. Well, there's a big problem here. So it looks like we got progressively less good with the lifts. So here you're leaning back and doing an upright row, right? And that's not what we want. We want a jump. We want to jump into an athletic position. So here it's jump. Boom, you jump. Instead, you're leaning back, thrusting the hips forward, and then doing a row. You're pulling the bar towards yourself. And then notice that as you're rowing it towards yourself, your knees are coming forward and your hips are staying out in front of you, almost like a sissy squat. That's not good. We don't want that. That's going to murder your neck. It's going to.
If I were him, I would be, and this goes for anybody. I actually think I have this in the school.
That was better.
Is practice perfect technique with an empty bar. I would do bar cycling. Yeah, that weight's all on his wrist.
Yeah.
So bar cycling is my favorite drill for cleans. Literally just get an empty bar and then do slow motion clean. So move this fast, that fast, and then get into the perfect position. Let the bar roll onto the fingertips and onto the shoulders, and then just do that over and over again. And as you get better, then you can start adding some speed.
What I do like is that you're trying. Like you're trying to do good technique, and you like that's better. That's better there. And you're doing reps of it, and that's really what it takes is just time and reps. You have to practice it, and you have to do it over and over and over again to get better. So stick with it. I mean, ultimately, just stick with it. I would definitely wear weightlifting shoes or some shoe with a heel because you can tell your ankles can't. Well, unless these are meant to be high intense squats, like half squats. But if this is meant to be a deep squat, it doesn't look like you can go deeper. This looks like the deepest you can squat, similar to me. So you can see that when you're in the bottom of your squat, let's say your toe is here, your knee is barely in line with that. So what's going to allow you to get more range of motion is giving yourself some help at the heel and elevating that. It will require less what we call dorsiflexion to get deeper because it'll shift your weight slightly farther forward and it allows you to just get into more dorsiflexion. So I'd recommend doing that, either getting weightlifting shoes or putting plates behind your heels, and that'll definitely help. But you have really good intent, which I love. I love the intent. That's the most important thing when it comes to jumping high. Based on how elastic you are, it makes sense why your ankles are so tight. So that's also going to be something that might be an ongoing issue. Okay, here we go. We got an elevated. Okay, let's see where we're at. So you're getting butt wink. So push the knees forward. When you're on the mat, don't just sit your butt back. Actively push your knees forward over your toe, right? So right now you're trying to sit your weight back on your heels, and as a result, you're rounding your low back here, and your pelvis is tucking into what we call posterior tilt, which is not good. It's pretty hard on your spine. So always maintain the integrity of your spine. You can see that your butt is just like winking all over the place. This is what Isaiah does at really heavy weights at the bottom of a squat, and it caused long-term back issues. And we've had to since move away from that. Occasionally he'll do it, but generally, like that's really deep, but it's happening because you're rounding your low back here. So what you want to try to do is maintain an arch. You can see that this is just like a, just totally rounded. We don't want that. But the depth is great. I mean, you have really mobile hips. So I would say push your knees farther forward, push them out over your pinky toe, and then try to maintain an upright position. When I had this problem, what I would do is I would actually like put a broomstick in front of me or this safety or whatever, the rack, and I would squat in front of it with a kettlebell. And that kind of taught me how to reposition my movement pattern so that I was doing it correctly. But yeah, those are all my thoughts. It was really good to be able to review that and kind of give you a lot of feedback. You have a ton of potential, and I would strongly encourage you to just stick with it. I think based on your squat depth, you definitely need to get a lot stronger. You're a super naturally elastic guy, but as a 2-foot jumper, you're going to be limited long term unless you want to pogo stick the dunks, which looks crazy, but is very, very hard to get better doing, right? I think you long term athletic development wise, we got to fix that squat, and we got to make sure it's solid, robust. You have full range of motion. So maybe work on the ankle mobility as well. And then I would say the posture during it as well, and getting that really, really solid, rock solid there. The sprinting is good. Jump technique is the second thing that I think Isaiah and I both could talk about in the clean form. If you want long-term athletic development, the thing that separated Isaiah from everyone else is he perfected those aspects. I didn't have to police him. He knew if I have to drop the weight to do it correctly, I'm going to do that. And he was super coachable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that's over the last
It,
6 years from other guys.
it's funny. We were lifting upper body the other day, and we're setting up for the bench, and then I'm like doing my warm ups, and I'm doing like freaking arch, like legs like flexed, pushing, doing using hip drive and stuff. And then John was like, he's like, "Oh, you're using like perfect bench technique. That's so annoying." And then he's like, and then what did I say? I was like,
You're like,
that's one thing about me is I gotta use perfect technique on everything. I gotta learn the best technique.
yeah, but the difference was in that is that elevates your max versus making it harder. That's like being like, oh, I did a powerlifting legal squat so I can lift more. Like, yeah, you could, but like that's not the point. But it was funny. I was just like, whatever, dude. I'll bench my 125 for 8 reps, okay, and I'll be proud of myself. They're doing 195 for reps.
No, but it's definitely it's something I've always obsessed about in anything. There's technique, any physical thing.
Super coachable.
Yeah. So obsess about it. Obsess about weight room technique. A lot of guys obsess about their jump technique. Get that same
guys got the same.
The weight room.
It's not, and it's like part of the process. It's part of the fun. When I see a guy that has perfect clean technique, I expect them to improve drastically. We get a lot of CrossFit guys that improve really quickly with us because they have great weight room technique, and all they need is a plan and direction.
I have a funny anecdote about this too. Last year at dunk camp, we did one of the stations as a powerlifting, like learning powerlift or not powerlifting, learning power clean. And what was funny is everybody that had perfect clean technique were the highest jumpers. And then everybody that was like struggling with it were the guys that weren't jumping that high and that had bad jump technique as well. Like it was like, and I don't think it's a
causation
jump high because you power clean a lot. I think it's a sign that you're willing to learn a complex motor skill and you're coordinated, and that transfers over to jump technique and sticking to training and staying consistent.
Technique, everything. I 100% agree. 100% agree. That's the end of the video, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.